In the last program, we visited the adventurous John Pye in Cooktown. I mentioned then that he and I had just returned from 6 weeks in the Simpson Desert. Well, that was done as a trial run in preparation for a very special expedition that has now been 12 months in the planning. I began months ago contacting the landowners whose properties we wanted to enter and set up camp, asking permission to do some exploring in those areas. They all have given their support for our venture. We reckon on being away for around 3 months to explore and search for time-worn objects in the mostly unvisited regions of Queensland, Central and South Australia, and also into Western Australia. We expect locations with no road or track access, no water, treeless, so no firewood, extreme heat or freezing, and not to forget flies and more flies. Yeah, milk powder, you got plenty of black tea and stuff, have you?
Yeah.
Tea leaves and stuff? Oh, good. There's been a lot of preparation go into this trip, and so I've done a lot of time setting up things. Now, one of the big things, of course, to be able to have Google Earth way out in the scrub, we need to have service. So I've invested in a Starlink, and that's the receiver up there on the roof. Inside here, we have all the charging equipment, so we can run 240 volt off the inverter here if we have to, which we rarely will, but occasionally, you never know. But the rest is 12 volt USB ports, battery chargers. That's the regulator for the solar panel up here, and it also regulates the current coming off the car alternator. Water will go in here and here. Medical, got the fridge here. Going around, this is just a storage area. It was Clifton's box for her to travel in. However, we've gone a little bit more upmarket with her. Tucker boxes, this folds down. We've got a wind deflector up here. That'll slightly pressurise in front of this door and keep the dust out of the back. So this is business class for Clifton. And that all clips out. If I get really bad weather, I can actually unclip that in a matter of a few seconds, and underneath here we have a bed. So I can actually sleep indoors if weather really gets tough. And we're going to be out on the Nullarbor, and it'll be blowing off the Antarctic Ocean, and you combine a bit of misty rain with that, and it's not pleasant. Yeah, no, it's all come together well. We've got bits of food and stuff stored under here. Remembering we're going away for 3 months, and yeah, we've got to be pretty well prepared. UHF radio. John's got one in his vehicle, so we can communicate with each other. Well, as we're driving down the road, it's a good time perhaps to give you a bit of information to what this trip's all about. Now, the time-worn objects I've mentioned are meteorites. It's believed that about 500 or so hit the Earth every year, with most falling into the ocean, but perhaps maybe 150 falling on land. But less than 10 of those are ever going to be found. The finding of meteorites is important. They provide information on the origin and the makeup of our planets and the solar system. The only other source of this information has come from the moon rocks brought back on space missions. Samples gathered more recently from Mars won't be returned to our Earth until the 2030s. We need to be patient. Well, we've arrived at our first area of interest. It's an area called Lake Buchanan. It's on Yarramia Station. Well, it's sort of southwest of Townsville by a couple hundred kilometres. It's the site of Queensland's biggest salt lake, and there has been some meteorites picked up here over the years. Nothing officially, but I've just heard on the grapevine that there's been a bit of stuff found here many years ago. So we're going to spend, not too sure, a couple of days cruising around here. There's an area out here that I've picked up on Google Earth. The locals refer to it as no man's land. Seemingly nobody's been in there for a long time. So we'll take a bit of a look around here and see what turns up. So we drove in and met the local fellow at his homestead, or just next to his homestead, and he was quite happy to let us camp in his front paddock for the night. So we're more or less east of Hawker in South Australia. We camped in this creek bed here amongst all the red gums. And it's a pretty cool sort of a morning. Southwesterly wind blew in during the night. So yeah, we're a bit huddled around the fire this morning. So what do you reckon, John? Have you got a good feeling about us finding meteorites in this area?
Yeah, live in hopes. Well, it's certainly a known area, so...
Yeah, that's right. There was a meteorite found just I don't know, 100 odd kilometres away from where we are at the moment that weighed over 1 tonne. It was found in 1909, and they brought a team of donkeys out towing a wagon to collect it. They had to dig the wagon down deep enough to be able to roll it on to the tray. So, bit of a marathon in 1909. Well, we've arrived at Mumpy Station, and look at these beautiful old buildings. There's not too many trees out here in the desert, but the one thing there is a lot of is stone. So consequently, the material was put to good use, and you'll find that a lot of these buildings out here, shearing sheds, homesteads, sheds in general, are all put together from the local stone. Aren't they just fantastic? So there's a thing called the Meteorite database. It's public information, and this is the stuff that I use to go into sites like where we are now and follow up on the information that's available off the internet. So that's what brings us here to this location, and it's pretty wild weather out here at the moment. It's blowing a strong wind from the southeast. We've just got to deal with that, but amazingly enough it doesn't seem to blow the flies away. And but anyway, we've got here, and we'll spend a couple of days here looking around and see what we can turn up. Somewhere out to the east of us, there's a lake out here called Lake Calaboona. There's no road to it, so we're going cross country to see if we can get there. And it's pretty slow going. We've just pulled up for lunch and feeding ourselves and a million flies. As you can see, there's a couple kicking around. And Clifton's bailed up. She's not getting out of the vehicle even. She's had enough of flies, I think. But anyway, it's the wind's eased off a little bit, and we just got a bit of a fire going here to boil a billy, and we'll finish some lunch and we'll push on a bit further. The wind-swept landscape here on the western side of Lake Calaboona really is the perfect environment to go looking for meteorites. Very sparse vegetation and pretty good visibility of the ground. So we'll just have a wander around here and see what we can turn up. Oh well, we're making our way out from Lake Calaboona. The easiest way out is the way we came in. It's rough going, but anyway, at least we know what we're up against coming back out. Looking at a site here that I certainly didn't expect to see. Overnight, this water has all appeared, and it's come down from the rains that was up in North Queensland about a month ago. And if we had been at Lake Calaboona this morning, we would have seen this brown muddy water spreading out across the salt lake. So what a bonus to see this, eh? And I can just imagine here in a month's time, this place will be full of pelicans and fish, and it'll be an absolutely amazing place. It's the floods of Queensland are going to transform this dry, arid part of South Australia into something that can only best described as a very rare event. Well, I'm glad I'm not a brass monkey this morning, otherwise I'd be in trouble, I reckon. Had a bit of rain last night and a cold change has come through this morning. Anyway, we're on the southern end of Lake Eyre South, and that's where we were last year, and found some good tektites here last year. Put in all yesterday afternoon, didn't find another one. Anyway, we'll have a couple more days in the area. Did find this rock. It's probably not a meteorite. It's a bit different, certainly nothing else like it in the area. So anyway, we'll see how things unfold. There's Cliffy wandering around. Anyway, I'm sort of circling back towards camp in a roundabout fashion, and there's a fair few rocks to look at. Anyway, I spotted this one here, and thought, oh, it looks a little bit different. Fair lump of a rock, and it is slightly magnetic. It doesn't exhibit all the perfect characteristics of a meteorite, but it's got one in the sense that it is slightly magnetic. Other than that, it's different to any other rock I picked up in the area. But it lacks the characteristics of a meteorite in the way that it's not showing any fusion crust. And really, but it's just a possibility. So we'll take this one home and have it tested if the general consensus seems to be that it should be tested. Anyway, we won't know for some time, will we? And look at that. Get the camera over, John. Not that easy to see out here where you've got a vast expanse of gibberstones, but this one was just a little bit of colour about it. Mind you, there's plenty of others around that have got similar colours about them, but the thing that probably gives it away is the surface on it. It's got this thing called a fusion crust, and also the shape of it. You can see it's got that rounded shape. That'd be the surface that was exposed to the greatest amount of heat as it was coming through the atmosphere, so it would have been coming through about that angle, and it's formed this little bit of a shape around it. So anyway, it's one very lucky find. So we'll hope there could be some more. Sometimes meteorites fall in showers, so we're going to spend some more time. We were going to leave here today, but not now. We'll keep searching the area, and hopefully, you never know, might get lucky and find another one. Here's a selection of the stuff that I've picked up, and John's picked up a similar size selection. However, about an hour or so ago, I stumbled onto this. Okay, this is a meteorite. How lucky is that? Found it out on the Gibber Plains amongst a million other similar looking rocks. But this one attracted my magnet, and yeah, as soon as I looked at it, I thought, yes. So anyway, we'll go back to that area tomorrow. But this is John attempting to eat lunch and not eat a mouthful of flies at the same time. Well, that concludes our time here in the Lake area, and I reckon it's a pretty good chance we'll be back here again. It's yeah, a very good area to be looking for meteorites, and but anyway, it's time to make a mile and bounce our way over millions of corrugations. Righto, we're about to turn off and point our vehicles towards the Nullarbor plain. Anyway, we just got a camp. It's the sun's about to break over the horizon. As you can see, the nights are getting colder as we get further south. We left our Lake Air camp yesterday morning and bounced our way across a lot of rough road to Roxby Downs. Roxby Downs is a mining town that started in the 80s. It's owned by BHP, and it's an extremely mineral-rich resource. And so today we head off down to Woomera, and from there on, I think we take on a fair bit of unsealed road, about 300 kilometres or maybe a bit more, as we go down through the Salt Lakes country, heading down to the Air Highway and then through to Sojourner, where I'll be catching up with a fellow meteorite collector there, and we'll have a yarn to him. It's also a great authority on the Nullarbor, where we're going. pretty slow going. The roads are rough. We're down to, at times, down to sort of 12 and 15 kilometres an hour. It doesn't matter, we're in no hurry. So there's no particular designated areas in this region that have been recorded for meteorites. So we're just pulling up wherever and having a bit of a look around. Well, what an amazing landscape we've got here. Drifting sand dunes, and slightly to the south here there's a big salt lake. Well, not that big of a salt lake, but it's anyway, it's a very interesting landscape here. It's an opportunity to let Clifton have a good run around. She gets a bit sick of travelling, but anyway, we'll take a bit of a walk around here. These areas are sort of similar to where they find a lot of meteorites in the Sahara Desert or in northwest Africa. And anyway, there's a bit of rock material laying around here. So far, none of it's been meteorite material. But anyway, it's an interesting area to have a look at, and we'll probably have a bit of lunch here and then head off after that. I'm just filming John coming along in my Colorado. Show the effects of these corrugations bouncing the vehicle around. Yeah, thanks John for doing that. John, there's nobody in it. Crikey, who's driving this vehicle? John, where'd you go? I'm a great believer in having a well-organised camp. You know, quick and easy to set up. I reckon it takes about 10 minutes. And get the fire going. But you know, all so often I see people loaded up with their vehicles with every bit of menagerie you could ever imagine, and half of it they're probably never going to use. And you know, I just think, well, what's the point? You're overloading your vehicle, you're stressing your tyres, and all just to take, you know, a lot of things that I can guarantee are never going to be used. But anyway, I do travel with the minimum, but the absolute essentials, and you know, works well for me. Anyway, it's a nice spot here. We've got a lake bed just over here, a couple hundred metres to the east of us, or west, yeah, to the east. And we've got the old desert myall trees here. Beautiful tree, really. Look at this one coming up on the right-hand side here now. It would be over 1,000 years old, that tree. I've seen ones about a third of the size of that, and they were considered to be about 400 years old. There's John working his butt off, bringing firewood in for us.
But he also had a camp here.
Yeah, look at that. You can't get away from the presence of other humans, can you? This is probably one of the arms of Lake Gairdner. Lake Gairdner's pretty famous for one thing in particular, and that is land speed records. Anyway, it doesn't look like salt, but it is predominantly salt. So yeah, it's just had a bit of rain on it and washed the salt into the surface a little bit. Lichen can grow in the toughest environment, can't it? Look at it. It doesn't get much tougher than here. Right down near the salt on these few protruding rocks. So legend has it that ostriches once roamed this part of South Australia. Down here, I reckon we've got some pretty hard evidence to sort of back it up. So this pile of stuff was dumped out of the back of an ostrich. So we have things like the seed here. It's a quandong seed. We have stones. This one here was sitting in that little bit of a cavity there, like that. And we have bits of charcoal that I've just dug out of this pile of stuff, and all the fibre. So again, this is evidence of occupation here. Look, there's another big lump of charcoal there. See that? That's charcoal. So, yep, it's a bit of a mystery, isn't it, eh? My old mate John here, who's travelled around the outback a lot more than I have, thought I was just, well, to coin that old phrase, taking the piss out of him when I told him about ostriches in the outback. Anyway, I had this modern technology with me called Starlink, so I had to jump onto that and bring up the facts, and there they were. What do you got for dinner, John?
Sausage was supposed to be an egg, but they're no good.
All right.
There was onion and a bit of stuff with it.
Right. Well, it's the 3rd of May, Election Day. Hopefully something good will come out of it. Anyway, time to get the fire going. First thing we do in the morning, when you've got good firewood, all you've got to do is scrape away a few of the ashes, and there's beautiful glowing red hot coals. So we get a result pretty quickly when you've got good quality firewood. There we go. Quick as that. Morning, John.
Morning, Alan.
Get the belly on. So this time 3 weeks ago, we were up at a similar time of the morning and setting up our camp, our first camp for the trip for the next day. So yeah, we've been gone 3 weeks. Most of our lunch breaks are pretty much opportunistic, as long as they provide a bit of firewood, and today a little bit of a shelter from the wind. So we happen to pull in here where there's a little bit of timber. Salt lakes and wombats. We're going to see plenty of them out here. I snuck up on this one. No, not the salt lake, the wombat. And he made a quick hightail for his burrow, didn't he? It's probably about the whitest of the salt lakes that we've seen so far, at least up close anyway. It's not a big one. Doesn't go to the horizon like some other ones do. After days and days of corrugation, it's a bit of a breeze driving down this bitumen. Got a few rock samples over the last few days. It's certainly been a very pretty and interesting drive. I've enjoyed every minute of it. But anyway, we're heading down to Ceduna. We're going to catch up with a fellow called Murray Collins. Murray is, he's an old meteorite collector, and he's a total authority on the Nullarbor plain. So yeah, looking forward to catching up. John and I have arrived at Ceduna in South Australia, and we're visiting Murray and Margaret Collins. Margaret's hiding behind the camera back here. And Murray has been a long time collector of meteorites, and he has extensive knowledge on the Nullarbor, its landscapes, rabbiters' tracks, and you name it, Murray will have some knowledge on it if it's to do with the Nullarbor. So Murray, how did you first become interested in meteorites?
Well, I met a chap called Richard Ralph.
Oh, right. So when I asked Murray how he got into meteorites in the first place, it's interesting to note that he ran into a fellow called Richard Ralph many years ago. So for those who have seen the previous documentaries, you'd be well aware that the one titled From Crocodiles to Meteorites was based on Richard Ralph.
Friends ever since.
Yeah.
And we visited him a few times while he's up there kept looking for meteorites. So we got the bug and took off.
Yeah. So tell me about the first meteorite you found.
It was pretty exciting. We went to Nullarbor meteorite site in the Strangefield, and we picked up a couple of pieces there, and we hooked on it. And after that, we used to go back every October for about a fortnight and go up there looking for meteorite.
So what size were the first few chunks you found?
About the one we got here.
And just let's have a look at
That
those.
must be acceptable, but these here are about the same, about the size, and that's over there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So these ones are all, so they're sitting on a magnet, these ones. So these are the little smaller fellas.
Yeah.
Okay, so Murray's just explained that. I'll just put this up a bit closer to the camera. And you can see here. Okay, that's the one. Bloke had been driving past it for years, thought it was a bit of an old rusty 44-gallon drum, until one day he had a closer look at it, and it was a meteorite. That's pretty incredible.
No, this is a shrapnel come behind.
Oh, is it?
The big ones were picked up here at the museum in Kalgoorlie. And I think a part one in Adelaide Museum, the slicer one. So this old, he's a guru, meteorite collector, I've gone so long.
Is he really? Where's he based?
He's in Kalgoorlie, but he passed away.
Okay.
And they're loading on the back of a truck there, so the local station owner there.
Yep.
Rod Campbell and his boys.
Oh, okay, yeah, Campbell's, yes, I know about the Campbells. I actually spoke to one of them there just recently.
Yes, Rod's passed away.
Yeah, so we can see here there's a fairly good lump of meteorite, and no doubt it'll tell us in the literature there the weight of it. And we've got a front end loader here, or a drot or a track excavator or something anyway to load it. There'd be a few ton in that, that's for sure.
There's another one there, I want it.
You know, this was the heyday of finding meteorites, and yeah, those days are gone. Certainly on the Nullarbor anyway, and probably pretty much anywhere across the state. Yeah, there'll be still stuff, sort of 10, 15 kilogram stuff laying around probably.
There might be one there with your name on it, you never know.
Yeah, that's right. It's been perhaps stuck under a tree or something that nobody's seen.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But yeah, these are interesting looking pieces with their jagged shapes and edges.
This one here, it's obviously there's a lot of nickel in it.
Oh yeah.
File them down and...
Yep. Here's a couple here that Murray has found. So these are solid metal, iron and fairly high in nickel, these ones. And here's the other one just here, and you can see that little bit of a polished face that Murray's put onto it. And he's actually even been able to run a bead of weld over that. That's how much metal's in it, to put a...
Well, I'm cheap out of your work with that stuff. It really bounces off.
So, if you just have a look at that selection of small meteorites, well, they're all the ones we're not going to find. Yeah, somebody's beat us to those, haven't you, Murray? That's all right. So I twisted Richard's arm, and he said, yeah, I'll take these few samples with you. So that's what we've done. And I'll give you a look at Richard's stuff, which you've probably seen before. And I'll save this little piece till last, but yeah, that's a Tenem meteorite from Windora.
Oh, yeah.
And that was part of a massive shower that fell in 1880 or 90 or something.
Okay, yeah.
It was a witness fall. Blokes in the stock camp saw it rain down all sort of close to the camp.
Yeah.
And that's a bit more of the same stuff. I think it's been sliced a bit.
Yeah.
And this is the little one I found at Lake Eyre the other day.
That'd be buggered. That was good, that.
Another ripper, eh?
Oh, it's a beautiful little piece.
And it's orientated. Got this, they've got the nose on it, on that dome side there.
Oh, that's a beautiful piece, isn't it?
Isn't it a bloody ripper?
Oh, how lucky is that?
Well, you wouldn't believe how lucky it is.
It's got your name on the back here, look at that.
Yeah, that's right. It's a special piece.
Yeah, how much good on you.
Yeah.
It'll keep you going for a while.
Yeah, that's right. Don't worry, I'm running on that one pretty well. Found it out there.
Oh, goodness me.
Gibber Plains.
Ooh.
I found it out there.
Yeah, let's...
and I'd been walking in that site, I think we'd walked a little bit the day we got there, walked all the next day, and I found it about 4:15 in the afternoon. We were going to pack up and leave next morning.
Yeah.
And I wandered back to John and I said, hold your hand out. And I dropped that in his hand and I said, John, we're not going tomorrow. I said, we're going to put another day in here. Well, I walked 25 kilometres the next day, never saw another one. So it's probably a one-off fall.
That's how it goes. That's a beautiful piece, isn't it?
Isn't it a ripper?
Oh,
I just can't believe how lucky I am.
John?
89,
88.
89, what, in May or something, aren't you?
They're bloody good for 89.
89 pretty soon, aren't you?
Yeah, in June,
In June.
89 in June.
Yeah.
Bloody hell, you wouldn't think it.
Well, you can walk. Don't worry.
Yeah.
God, don't look like...
So the most popular theory on tektites is that they are a result of a huge meteorite slamming into our planet, the explosion being so huge that it blasts material back up into space, it goes into orbit and re-enters our atmosphere, and on the way through it's spinning and creating all sorts of interesting shapes and eventually landing on the ground.
I've taken a photograph of this rock here. That photograph was taken in 1925. The location was then lost, and it was nearly 100 years later before the rock was rediscovered, and it's known as Cannon Rock. Not hard to see why, is it, when you look at that? It just helps you appreciate the vastness and remoteness of outback Australia when something like this can be lost for 100 years and then rediscovered again. Slight change of scenery here. We've come to a place called Fowler's Bay. I know a bloke here. Unfortunately, we struck the day that he's not home. He's gone to Ceduna, but a fellow called Johnny Whittaker in 2010 spent 30 odd days with Johnny taking a group of tourists across the Great Victoria Desert using camels. And anyway, it would have been good to catch up. But that's life. Well, John's cooking his dinner. Not bad mine. So we've got the belly on, and we'll be having a cuppa in due course. But anyway, we had an interesting time with Murray and Margaret Collins in Ceduna. I've known Murray for 20 odd years, and yes, he's found a lot of meteorites in his time. He's a good friend of Richard. So he's directed us out to a location on the Nullarbor plain where the biggest meteorite in Australia was found. It weighed about 12 tonne. Another one not far from it weighed about 5 tonne. And there's been a lot of material, small stuff, picked up in the area. It's been well worked over, but you know, nobody gets them all. It just means we've got to work a little bit harder to find whatever we can find. And if we do find a few, well, then we've made it a bit harder for the next one to come along, haven't we? Anyway, that's all sort of for tomorrow and the days that follow. There'll be no wood out there, so we've stocked up with firewood, fuel and water, and tucker, of course. So yes, we can be a little bit extravagant with the wood tonight, but from tomorrow onwards, we've got to ration it. Anyway, that's just how it is out on the Nullarbor. From leaving the Nullarbor Roadhouse, we're now following the old air highway. Our directions for the next couple of weeks are simply drawn on a bit of paper from Murray. So that's going to take us into some pretty remote country round the Nullarbor, well up beyond Cook. We'll probably then cut around and then come back to Forest and then head a bit west from there. In a flat and featureless landscape like we've got out here, it's pretty bloody easy to get disorientated. Anyway, Murray suggested we put this flag up every time we walk away from the vehicle. So, yeah, that's what we do, and it certainly has proved its worth. Yeah, we're economising on the wood now. So, not a tree in sight out here. Anyway, this is our first sort of camp out on the Nullarbor. It's actually next morning. We made camp here last night or yesterday afternoon, and but there was a bit of rain. I was sleeping out here, and a bit of a sprinkle of rain about 4 o'clock this morning, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky when we went to bed. Anyway, that was not too bad. It was only very light, and a couple more little light showers after that, but luckily I had everything sort of all as far as firewood and that. I had some dry stuff to get something going this morning because I knew it would be at least a heavy dew. Anyway, it's a bit more than that. Anyway, flies will be happy. They like a bit of moisture. And if it stays overcast, it actually makes the ground a lot easier to see, so you don't have shadows behind the salt bush. So anyway, we had a bit of a wander around here yesterday. We'll probably drive a bit further over here and walk some more. We're about 10 kilometres east of the road that runs north off the air highway going to Cook.
Now, one of the rules we have out here is we don't leave sight of our vehicles. However, I have done that this morning.
But to do that, you've got to have a bit of a plan. And don't rely on your GPS. If you see that tree there on the horizon, there are not many of them out here, but there's one there. I'll just zoom back out. And then we've got this tree here. Now I know for a fact, if I keep those trees in line, one behind the other, and maintain one behind the other, and I continue walking in that direction, the vehicles will come into view. So that's what I've done, not using a GPS. So here it is. It's that moment again when you know you've found a meteorite. There's something pretty special about it. This is the second definite one that we've found so far. And of course, we record the location, hence the GPS with the latitude and longitude. So if we want to come back at a later date, we can come back to the exact location and do a bit more looking around. But we'll do a bit more legwork here this morning. So this well-used pathway we're looking at here is made by wombats, and they join their sort of burrows, or wherever they happen to be living, which is mostly burrows, by these big long pathways. And there's one here. There it is, going further over to a set of burrows just there on the right-hand side. The amount of material these wombats shift is pretty incredible, really. Look at this. Well, look at this. Back driver's side wheels about 2 inches off the ground. Front passenger side wheels about 2 foot under the ground. Well, that's the price I pay for looking out of the window, hoping to spot a black rock or two, instead of watching where I'm going. Anyway, if I was on my own, it'd be a bit of a drama. However, we'll get John with his Toyota and a pull strap, and yeah, he can reef me out backwards and we'll be mobile again. Well, there's not too many trees out here. When you do see one, you can be pretty guaranteed there's going to be an eagle's nest in it. It's not that far off the ground, so I've parked my Colorado up next to it and put Clifton up here for a bit of a look around. Of course, she thinks it's pretty interesting. Oh well, another day down. Pretty good one at that. Found another meteorite today, so only a little one. Anyway, John's yet to find one. I'm tipping that when he does, it'll be a bloody ripper. It's going to happen, John.
Well, I'm living in hopes.
That's right. That's it, eh?
Oh, if I keep walking and looking, I might drop onto one day and...
Yeah, no, you will. There's no doubt about that. So anyway, we had the fire going over here, but we've picked it up and moved it and put it over here because it was a bit windy over there. It was all right when we were cooking, but anyway, we've just moved it over to here. But anyway, we're just out northwest of Cook. So only by about, as the crow flies, about 12 kilometres, I think it is. We went into Cook just to touch base with the caretaker like I did last time. Last time the caretaker fellow was a good bloke, very welcoming. The bloke this time was just a fairly unsavoury sort of character, and so I told him what I thought of his outback hospitality and we left. Anyway, that's all right, we get all types. So we've got a long bouncy road ahead of us for the next few days, but we'll be stopping a lot and walking around areas where there's a fair bit of exposed ground, and yeah, hopefully pick up a bit more meteorite material or tektites. So yeah, there's a fair chance we could get onto some tektites in this area. Anyway, it's all about just putting one foot in front of the other and keep on going. So this track we're on here is pretty typical now of what we're going to be driving on for the next week to 10 days. These were never surveyed roads out here. This is just a track that probably evolved from when trapping rabbits and the rabbit industry was really booming. And we're on one such track. But anyway, we'll put in a few hours driving today, and then later on look for a good area to start combing a bit of country for meteorites again.
I've seen more camels on this trip than I have ever seen on previous trips. They're not real popular with landholders out here. Apart from competing for feed, they're also got little respect for fences.
So we're on to our third day now on this 180 odd kilometre long section of track. It's taking us sort of west-northwest across the Nullarbor here. So it's as remote as you can get out here. This track would be lucky if it sees 10 or a dozen vehicles a year. So yeah, that's sort of a bit unnerving. If we've got a bit of vehicle trouble out here, well, it's a bigger challenge than anywhere else. So anyway, it's all very interesting. Saw camels at our camp last night and heard some dingoes howling early this morning.
Well, even out here we find evidence of human occupation, that is, of a European side. And of course, from time to time we see evidence of Aboriginal occupation as well. But this coin here would most certainly have to date back to the heyday of the rabbit trapper. Of course, that all went pretty good until the release of myxomatosis, and then those days were over.
Righto, so here we are. We're on the Western Australian South Australian border on longitude 29 degrees. And this row of rocks here goes through there is the border. And I was expecting a fence line actually, but it wasn't like that. Anyway, so this is standing over these rocks puts me half me in Western Australia on this side and the other half me in South Australia on that side. So standing in two states, but really there's three states. There's a state of mind out here, that being to be extremely aware of how remote we are. There's no RACQ service out here, I can promise you. So we've got to be very careful, especially in my Colorado. It's not as robust as a Toyota. And so I've got to be very careful not to slam any rocks up into the sun, because there's rocks as big as that one along this road here. And provided I keep conscious of it and concentrate, well, then it shouldn't be a problem. But anyway, we're going to go over the border here now and we'll drive a few kilometres and make camp.